Hi guys, so welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Unihertz Titan 2. So for starters, I have been using the Unihertz Titan 2 for the better part of the last month. So I've had plenty of time as a daily driver, and I'm going to share my thoughts with you about what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and maybe just give you a general idea on whether or not you should buy one. But spoiler alert, yes you should. So let's get started. So what is the Unihertz Titan 2? Well, the Unihertz Titan 2 is a modern smartphone with a QWERTY keyboard. If you are like me and you grew up between the years 2000 to 2010, where Blackberries were pretty popular, but you didn't get a chance to own one back then this is your time. So this is essentially a reworked BlackBerry Passport, if I may. And if you know the BlackBerry Passport, you will start to see a lot of resemblance, especially the layout of the keyboard and the screen and so on. So yeah, this is essentially a QWERTY keyboard phone but modernized. The Unihertz Titan 2 is a modern phone. It has a pretty decent chipset, the Dimensity 7300. It's a pretty mid-range chipset. It has 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, and a 5050 milliamp hour battery. So those specs do scream mid-range, but it's fine, as you will see later in the video. That is perfectly fine, and you should not really judge a book by its cover, I guess. So in this case, judge the phone by its specs. So let's discuss the elephant in the room. It's a QWERTY keyboard, and it may look odd at first glance, especially with the space bar in the middle and the function keys at the top. But rest assured, you will get used to it. I've gotten used to it actually, and I've gotten fairly fast at typing as well. So I don't find this a huge issue. At first glance, people will be like hesitant to use this layout, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, it's not an issue at all. So the keyboard is backlit. There is white backlit, and it has your function keys at the top, like I said before, and it also includes the home button, the back button, and you can show all apps running. So I think that's pretty useful. Of course, for me personally, I rarely use these three buttons, as I just use the gestures. But for those who prefer the physical buttons, it's there. Or if you want, you could still use the on-screen buttons like traditional Android. The typing experience on the keyboard is actually pretty good. The buttons are very clicky, and it's a joy to type using a thumbs. For me personally, when I type on my Google Pixel 7, I usually average about 47 words per minute, but here I can reach up to 49, which is much closer to my laptop speeds, which is about 53, 54 words per minute. Hence, I feel like it's not really hindering my typing experience, or maybe I thought I would be much slower, in fact, and I was actually proven wrong. So yeah, the keyboard is actually pretty good. And the other thing is that the keyboard is not only a input method, but rather you could use it to scroll, to scroll pages, you can use it as a cursor to correct your typing, and it's because the keyboard is capacitive, right? So at any point of the keyboard, you could touch and you could scroll and you could move. So I feel like that's actually pretty good, and this is actually something that the Blackberries had, especially the key 1, the key 2, and I'm actually quite glad to see it here. This is a feature that I've always wanted to use and I never got the chance to. So moving onto the phone itself. The phone itself is actually pretty nice. It's not the best designed phone, I have to say. It's very blocky, very rugged, it's like a tank. But in the last 1 month of using, I've actually gotten pretty okay with the design. A lot of people say that it's very uncomfortable to hold and so on, but the case really does help, like soften out the edges. And I've never actually felt uncomfortable using the phone. So I'm not too sure why others feel like it's not comfortable, because your hands tend to rest like this, right? So like this, and it's not that different compared to any other phone, I feel. The phone is very blocky. You have your IR blaster at the top, you have your customizable function keys at the sides, and you have your volume rocker as well as your fingerprint scanner / power button. What are the pros and cons of using the Unihertz Titan 2? Well, the first pro is of course the keyboard itself. Getting to experience a physical QWERTY keyboard on a phone is something that I think a lot of us missed, and I would sort of highly suggest you to try it out, and I think you might enjoy it. And the second one is of course it being somewhat like a dumb phone, right? So this whole movement of dumb phones and cutting down screen usage time and all that, I think this is the perfect phone to do that. In fact, if you look at my screen time with this phone, I've significantly reduced it to pretty much just an hour a day. And the reason is because a lot of apps do not scale very well on the phone. So for example, if you look at Instagram, since the screen aspect ratio is square, right? It's 1:1. Watching videos is a pain, especially vertical videos, and just scrolling or doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it's much more painful, which makes me not want to do it. And I think that's a very, 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 very solid reason to get this phone. And don't get me wrong, you still could use or see the full screen. There is a mini mode which you can toggle, and you could see the full screen in a much smaller aspect ratio. However, like I said, since the experience is not great, usable but not great, it makes you want to put your phone down and not worry about it too much. For me personally, if I wanted to use, I would probably use it on a browser on my laptop, and I think that's good enough. Even YouTube doesn't scale too well, but it's still again usable, and looking at emails and all that is pretty decent. You could pretty much see all that you need. Personally, if you are into cutting down your phone usage and all that, then this phone is a no-brainer. So the cons would be the screen itself. So the screen is an LCD panel, and there are a lot of complaints that it's a bit uneven. I think the lamination is not good. I've gotten used to it, and if you put a black background or if you don't use much gray, I think you wouldn't really see it. But to be honest, it's not a huge con to me. I don't really mind. After all, this is just, I paid $270, about 1,000 ringgit for this. So it's not a very expensive phone. But since many phone manufacturers have gone to OLED screens even on budget phones, so that is something that I think people will maybe not be too happy about. Other cons would be of course the camera. It's serviceable, but it's not great. Coming from a Pixel 7 Pro, it does take some getting used to. However, in my case, I do intend to transition to a camera, or maybe a full frame camera or something like that. So I think that getting a phone like this is probably the way to go, where you want to separate or you want to elevate your photography skills and all that, so you don't rely fully on your phone, but you have a dedicated device to take photos, to take videos. There is a rear screen as well. It's as a notification center, and you can even show a clock, or if you want to go the extra mile, you could use it as a camera viewfinder to use the rear cameras. You have a compass, and also you can use any app on the screen. Of course, it's not a great experience, but you can. So as maybe if your phone is facing down on the table, you could use. People should get the Unihertz Titan 2, regardless of its compromises, or regardless of its quirky design or software. I think that people should still get it, because phones have become pretty boring over the last years. Yes, they have gotten a lot smarter, a lot more, feature packed, but if you are not in the market to get the latest and greatest, then you should definitely get something like the Unihertz Titan 2.